When you see that kind of negativity on social media, is there something that you keep in mind that can make sure that your message never gets antagonistic or gives into that negativity?
Yeah, sort of. If I responded to all the negativity, I wouldn't have had time to get dressed this morning. And that's just the reality of having a larger voice at this point. It was not something that I could have been prepared for. Yeah, I have an initial reaction, and then I walk for about 10 minutes, or I drive, and then I'll have a different reaction. Most times, that reaction is to not respond. But one thing that I have learned, especially in the last year, is my silence isn't cool to other people like me that don't have this job or this voice. My response is for them, not for me. So I typically respond as respectfully as I can, and they're always respectful, and usually I tell them they're great, and it was really nice meeting them online. And they usually don't respond to that. So kill them with kindness.
I feel it's kind of important, since you asked all of us, what's your favorite Beyonce moment?
Oh, Barb Abney. Barb Abney. Love you too. I don't know, because anytime that I've seen Beyonce, like in a live, like if I've gone to see her shows, or even if she performs on television, I black out. Right, Alex? Yeah, it takes me a minute. My favorite Beyonce moment, I think it was, correct me, Beehive, if I get this wrong. Thank you, I see you. When she performed with Kendrick Lamar at the BET Awards, when she did Freedom. See, wasn't that hard?
Hi, I'm way in the back here. Hi.
Hello!
Hi. I work in advertising, as I'm sure there are some other people in the room do as well. And part of the process of commercial creativity is trying to put creativity in a box that logic tends to, because it works its way in there somewhere and you have to try and fight against it. I would love to just hear how you try and balance those things if you ever have to, because I think you never want to kill creativity, but sometimes it becomes a battle. And so if you have a point of view on that.
My large point of view on it is choose your battles. That's a terrible answer, I know, but sometimes, I mean, if we're fighting over something that you like it, but you're not going to literally quit your job over it, you could choose that battle. My creativity stifling moments just come in time constraints, or if something is, I'm the only person that understands it. Carly, the photojournalist I work with all the time, literally, I'll write something and she'll just turn around like, I don't even know what this means. I'm like, okay, I got a little too far down my rabbit hole, but I thought it was so clever. So, a little humility there is often helpful. My point is only, I think that that's a safe space, right? Like, ooh, let's draw it back. Ooh, let's draw it back. Ooh, let's draw it back. They do focus groups for Care 11 a lot. People that watch our news, they ask them what they like, what they don't like, and what they really get angry about. And what they really get angry about is being pandered to. Your audience is smart, they're intelligent, they'll go with you, but do so in a way that, is creative and it's worthy of their time. But don't dumb them down. They're smarter than you think. You are we're all the audience, so, I'm not smarter than you think, but these people are. And so, I would say, I think we play it safe too much.
Hi.
Hi.
Right here.
I see you.
Avery is obviously living in a family and a community that supports her as she explores who she is and who she wants to be. Are you willing to share part of your story? How did you figure that out for yourself?
Well, Avery's got more of a head start. A lot of that has been well documented, and I'm so tired of talking about myself. But I love you, and I love your question. There were a lot of mixed messages. It's different growing up in the early 80s than it is growing up in 2017. And I also grew up in a really rural area with absolutely no diversity of any size, shape, or form, pre-internet, pre-Ellen, pre-anything that didn't look like the norm social construct. So that's why I really, really, truly believe in the whole see it to be it thing. I never saw anybody that looked like me present day. I think that's why it was so jarring when I saw Avery for the first time, and I thought I died. Like, this is what it would have been like, perhaps. This is how I could have presented if I lived in this time. I'm not sad about that. All of those experiences have made me who I am. But no, I didn't. I mean, I wore a baseball uniform to school. That's any indication. That is not a fashion choice. That is a rebellion. So I really wish I would have had a blazer, but no. So I did the best I could with the resources I had, but I had really supportive parents. I didn't start to present in this way because I was in television, obviously, and television newswomen look a certain way until literally 2 years ago. So the transformation was real. Yes, sir.
So I really like your message about going in with one question and when working with kids and letting that go wherever. But I'm kind of wondering if you have any tips about, like, if you were to apply this in sort of an educational context where you kind of do have some pathway you want to lead them on or something you want to get to eventually. And I guess that's kind of similar to like what you said about choosing your battles, but like in this context, do you have any tips about how to work with kids, not crush their creativity, but also get somewhere productive?
That they actually, learn something and have constructive use of their time. Yeah, it's a great part about me. I'm only there for 15 minutes. Your problem. Short, true answer. I work a lot with the Turnaround Arts program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It is a program that is federally funded for now. And it goes into low-performing schools, test scores, and puts art in every single form of their education and see how that works out. Bethune Community School in North Minneapolis has done it this is their 3rd year. And I just met with them. And they talked about, they couldn't talk about it in year 1, year 2, but year 3, they're starting to see the difference in the kids that were in 1st grade, now 4th grade, what their performance looks like with art in every faction. And I think art is creativity, is freedom, is taking a kind of lesser path, going down that road. So, yeah, you can't let them go off the rails the entire time, but I think if you allow them the freedom of that expression, they trust you more when it has to come to a different topic, a different subject. And we allow creativity in that. Like, had Mrs. Dabbs allowed creativity in my math class, I'd probably be working for NASA now. But she didn't. So, in my dream job, I get to be a teacher and try and figure those things out, but I think it's worth playing with. Is it for me? Turn off your Tinder. This is not the time or the place. Jeez, people.
Hi. You mentioned that when you got to a point in working in news where you felt like you couldn't be creative, and this new series has become a kind of creative outlet. Was there a period earlier on in your news career where you felt like you could be more creative? And if something changed, what changed? Or did you go into news expecting that you would be able to be more creative than you actually had the room to be when you got there?
Until I really only, my career up until getting to KARE 11 is a dark hole. So let's just focus there. I've been here for over 13 years now, and I came to KARE 11 specifically because they allowed creativity. The Minneapolis-St. Paul television market was unique in the entire United States. Nobody does it quite like this. Denver tries. Seattle, a little bit. But everybody else they're just terrible. So I came here to have that creative license and to storytell, as we say. But we're all storytellers, and every single thing we do, if you're not telling a story, I don't care what your industry is, you're doing it wrong. So I came here to be a storyteller via the news because, like I said, news can be somewhat one-dimensional, and if I just regurgitate information to you, why do you care? Why does it matter to you in this community? So that was why, yeah, it allowed me some creativity, but how creative can you be with the legislature. You actually can be really creative, but producers are like, oh, don't do that. I'm like, why? It's funny. So sometimes they let me do it, sometimes they didn't let me do it. Right now, my only reference point is that we're in a really weird time in journalism. We're in a really weird time to be alive. I use weird because someone used that, a very scholarly man on politics said, the Senate is really weird right now. I'm like, that's one way to put it. So with that, it's like a scary time because you don't know if you should have any creative license. Like, just do it, just do it, just do it. So I feel like it's getting pulled back again, but I'm in this experiment show. So cool to be like a test tube baby. So everything that we do is an experiment, and so you can just kind of hide behind that shield of creativity. So that's been helpful. But we try, and it's hard though, because if you thought a certain way about what you do, what your job is for so long, and you always opine and fantasize about how cool it would be if they just took the leash off and let me do something. Well, once they took the leash off, I was like frozen. I was like, what do I do? You took away the formula, you took away the recipe. I'm a Virgo, I need that back. And it took a little bit to be like, okay, thaw the ice, you're gonna be fine, so just tiptoe over, tiptoe over, tiptoe over, do the news a little different, okay, okay. So I'm still in the tiptoe phase.
Hi, Jana, over here.
Hello.
I was listening and thinking about some of the things that people said to you, and I was wondering if they would say that to you in person, and I'm thinking, like, hopefully not. Like, I'm hoping that maybe it's easier for people to say stuff like that when they're, like, not looking at you and seeing you. But I wanted to know, like, how do you think we could have more conversations, like, face-to-face out in the world, and what's your advice for the rest of us? Like, how do we start talking to each other outside of the digital world?
Great question. I ask my shrink that question all the time. That's kind of the reason I respond to people, because I want to have a conversation. I don't just want to automatically get pissed at somebody. I'm like, you're an idiot. You're a homophobe. You're a bigot. You're a racist. You're this, that, or the other thing. What if I just go back at them with a question and be kind about it? I can't tell you how many, and a friend of mine in the audience knows this, pen pals I have, who are, no offense, the majority of them are men in their 60s and 70s, Trump voters, Republicans, who have a certain idea about me and came at me, and I came back at kindness, and we started relationships. We email several times a week with questions to each other. It's fantastic. It really is, because I disagree, but I gotta sit in my discomfort with some stuff. Like, I'm not right about everything. Shocker. And if I don't listen to people, then I'm part of the problem. Face to face, interesting. I found myself a couple of days ago, I was trying to find an expert to talk to actually this afternoon about the changes in the administration so quickly with cabinet appointees. And I needed to find a conservative voice because I just needed it. And so I needed to make a phone call, which meant hitting a number and there's a human on the other hand who I've never met, who I was gonna pitch something to, who I already knew had opinions about my work as a journalist and my person, because they'd said so publicly. So I was like, okay. But you know what? We talked on the phone for 25 minutes. It was so long, she had a Diet Coke while we were chatting, and she said she hadn't had one in years, just about as long as she had talking to a liberal lesbian. And we talked about all sorts of things, and it was great. I walked out, and I was like, humans are interesting people. And we're gonna have coffee next week. It's gonna be great. So, get past yourself, do the ask.
Hello, Jana.
Oh, no. I know that voice. The voice of your mentor lurking in the back.
You have so many stories, and you're such a brilliant storyteller. I'm just wondering what you want your story to be like. What's your legacy? What do you want to be remembered for? We can simplify it further.
This is Nancy's trick to take the stage.
No, it isn't.
Am I dying? Why do I have to have legacy? I don't know. What do I want to be remembered for? Well, I do think about this a little bit because I feel that I'm going to get fired every single day. It's always possible. There's a social media policy I haven't adhered to very well. Oopsie. That once I figured it out, that I stayed true to myself. R.I.P.